All right. First of all, welcome to Custer, South Dakota. We're here with everybody's, I can't say favorite because his son has a much cooler bike, but we're going to say the second coolest rider in North Carolina, Patrick from Motorambling.
Howdy, folks. Good to see you, Frank.
It is very good to see you. In fact, it is wonderful to see you. Patrick rides, and Patrick rides a lot.
I do.
What bikes do you own, Patrick?
I have a 2012 Suzuki V-Strom DL650. And
Hold
I
on.
have
You're not going to mention the name?
copper.
Every Patrick video, I'm reminded of the name of his bike.
Yep.
My bike is named Adventure Janet. I never mention it.
Okay.
All of my bikes are named variations of Janet.
Okay.
But you are like, he lets everyone know the name of his bike.
I do, and I do it in every video that is my video. Copper
Think of
is
this
my
as your
20.
video.
Okay, copper is my 2012 Suzuki V-Strom, and it's the copper color, which I love. And I also have a 2016 Honda Goldwing, which I call Big Red.
It is big and it is red.
Yes, it is.
I hear the red isn't liked by everyone though.
No, well, there are people that thought it was a different color red, and they
were
didn't
wrong.
really like
They
it.
were wrong.
And then when they learned that they were wrong, they kind of admitted that
They
you know what,
warmed
I
up
do
to
like
it.
that. I do like that color. You'll get it later.
So right now, Patrick and I live but 750 miles away from each other, or 50 miles away from each other, depending on where I happen to be.
Correct. Yes.
How far away are we from home now?
I am just under 1,700 miles from my home, here in the Black Hills of South Dakota.
And when you did that 1,700 miles, was it far enough?
It was. It was.
I think it wasn't far enough.
Oh,
I mean, you're wearing a
it was
hat
far.
right now.
It was far enough in 2 days. But when I was the next morning, I needed to go a little further west. I like to ride, but this is the first time I've done a big, long trip. And you invited me, and I was hesitant. I didn't know if I wanted to do it because it's so far from home.
I can understand that, and you haven't had Big Red very long.
No, I bought Big Red at the very end of July, and it's the beginning, middle of September.
So what Patrick did is what a lot of us, including myself for many years, just don't do because it's very far away. I've never done it before. I'm leaving my family behind.
Leaving all my comfort.
And importantly, I don't know these yahoos. Maybe a little bit off the internet, but am I going to travel almost 2,000 miles and spend time with people I only tangentially know from the internet?
To that point, I met Frank once. We had lunch together, and
He
it was
wouldn't even
great.
ride with me. We had lunch, he got on his bike, and he rode out of town.
And if you know Frank, you know how much crap there's right there.
It's almost true. It's
almost
so close to
true. But all the other guys I've never met. Seen some on video, seen some on the YouTube channels. Verbal Widget is one that I talk to a lot back and forth, and Randomly Trees, Andrew. But I've never met any of them in person until now.
And let me tell you, we are not who we appear to be on YouTube. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not.
I'll disagree with them a little bit. From what I've seen on YouTube and what I've seen in the last few days with these folks, they're great people, and they are basically what you see. But I was hesitant. I wasn't gonna come. I didn't think that I had it in me to make a long drive by myself into a place I've never been, to meet people I've never met. And for some reason, this particular invite, I decided, just do it. I've been wanting to do stuff like this for a very long time. You invited me, and I thought, I should go. Why shouldn't I go? And there were more reasons to go than there was to not go. But it wasn't easy for me.
No, and I think that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. At some point in time, almost all of us have that idea. I ride a lot, and it's close to home. Or I ride a lot to visit my kids. Or I ride a lot to visit a guy I went to school with. But it's entirely something else to figuratively take that leap and go over 1,000 miles, over 1,500 miles, almost 2,000 miles for the first time.
Into an area I've never been again, and to meet people that I didn't know. It's easy. I think I just spoke to you about it one time. It was easy for me to do 800 miles in a day because I was either going to my mom's or I was coming home to my house from my mom's. 800 miles felt like nothing, but I had that destination at the end that I knew and I was comfortable with. I didn't have that this time. It was all the big scary world.
Now, what I was hoping to accomplish here was I wanted to ride with Patrick. I watch his videos. My wife watches his videos. And having met him ever so briefly before he wouldn't ride with me, he came across as someone you knew for years. I sat down with Patrick. We ate some food and we talked about, I don't even know, just
Everything.
everything.
Yep.
It was just awesome. And
It
my
was.
thought was, I remember 4 years ago when a couple guys off the internet said, why don't you come 2,000 miles? We'll ride together. We'll have a good time. And I thought about it for weeks and weeks. And then I eventually said, as Patrick said now, the reasons to do it were greater than the reasons not to do it. Now, I kind of cheated. I flew there, met the guys, got on a bike I bought. So when I started my road trip, I'd actually owned the bike overnight.
Right.
But I did have the opportunity to meet Tim and Javi and one of the many Daves I know who own motorcycles, and then travel with them 600 miles before doing another 1,700 miles home. And I wanted Patrick to at least have an opportunity to have someone nearby. And I had said to you, we have friends coming from North Carolina, we have friends coming from West Virginia, which is practically Pennsylvania. And Patrick said, what I'm just going to call it brave. He said, I think I want to try solo travel. And I hope you watch Patrick's channel. It's Motoramblings. And if you don't, go take a look. But what I've always seen is Patrick rides with his buddy. Patrick rides with his son. And it was like, here's this guy who's not been a long distance without getting to family. And he's like, I want to test myself driving across the country. I have opportunities. I can ride with other people. I could have asked Frank to ride down. And he's like, I want to see how I do. And that's impressive because it's new.
It is.
And I don't care how old you are. I am 55 years old. And I still am nervous about doing new things. And the farther away from home that new thing is, the more I'm still a little kid going, man, I hope something doesn't go wrong.
Yeah, and for me, the being away from home, the riding part, I mean, I'm riding, what do you call it? The Honda Civic?
The Honda Civic of motorcycles.
Yeah. So the comfort factor wasn't a problem. It was the mental part of it. It was the stamina. It was forcing myself to get to a point where I was further from home than I could get back to in a day. I've never done that. I've always been close enough where if I had to get home for whatever reason, I could just turn tail and go. This was the first time that I wasn't going to be able to do that. Once I got 800 miles into the trip or something, I was like, there's no way I can make it home. And I did. It took some effort. I had to force myself to do it. But in my mind, I wanted to try it. As hard as it was for me to actually take that step out the door, it was something I really wanted to do, and now I am so thankful I did.
Excellent. And that was going to be my last question. I wanted to know all of this time and effort away from the family, this far out, meeting a bunch of strangers. So far, I mean, it's not over yet.
Yeah,
Things
right.
can change.
Yeah.
I mean, we're about to eat dinner. Things could go south quickly there,
They could.
but it was worth it for you.
Oh, absolutely worth it. There were some parts of the ride that were fairly boring. I mean, we all know going through the Midwest, it can be kind
They
of...
call them flyover states for a very good
that
reason.
they do, and I agree. But I ended up
No
getting...
offense to the people that live in the flyover states.
Right. You can't fly over if you live there. But once I got past that and I started seeing some of this epic scenery out here, started seeing some of the grasslands, which is something. I live in the mountains. I live in these green, lush,
Beautiful mountains of North Carolina.
They are incredible. It is absolutely amazing place to live. So to come out here and find an area where I could look in any direction and not see a single tree was the weirdest thing I'd ever experienced in my life. I grew up on the East Coast. And there's trees
everywhere. If there's not pavement, there's a forest.
Right. And so seeing that for the first time, I always had told buddies of mine that would bore me. Why would I want to go see that? That's boring. But when I saw it, it wasn't boring. It was different. It was new. It was exciting. And then getting into the Black Hills and these rock spires and the incredible roads and the just rugged scenery, it's just awe-inspiring. I mean, to see forever was just something that I'm just not used to.
Something new and different.
And that made it worth it. Now, as Frank said, I did 1,700 miles to get here. The very next morning I went out and I rode a bunch of the stuff that
I think it's another 350 miles to Devil's Tower. It's not next door.
Right. And I actually did, the first day after I got here, I actually did Needles Highway, Spearfish Canyon, the Wildlife Loop, Iron Mountain Road, Mount Rushmore. I did all that Saturday. And then Sunday I went and I did the Devil's Tower and I rode all the way out to Wyoming and did all that. And I've had an absolute blast. But I will say, when I was going up to Devil's Tower, I didn't realize how far away it was. I did start to get a little bit bored with the scenery. I was ready for it to change, but that was more because of the road.
Yeah.
Going to Devil's Tower is just a straight, flat, high-speed road, and I was tired of straight, flat, high-speed
You can see
roads.
that tower an hour before you get to it because you're just going like this.
Yes, and it's awesome. I highly recommend it. It's worth the ride. It's worth the trip. But yeah, I was at the end of that one, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back to the campground, get back to these hills and twisty roads and enjoy this. The people, as Frank said, when he and I met, it felt like we were high school buddies that never lost touch, and we just got together for the first time in a couple of years and couldn't stop talking. I felt the same thing with a lot of the people here already. I ran into Dave from Verbal Widget. We ended up staying at Mount Rushmore at the little ice cream shop forever because we just couldn't stop talking like kids in high school. And it's been great, and I've loved every bit of it.
Well, people are coming in for dinner, so we're going to get a lot more motorcycle jerks. I hate motorcycle people. So, Patrick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just one request. I am very much looking forward to a video on your channel with at least one Patrick, maybe up to 3 Patricks. I really would like to know, a few weeks when this is all done, I'd really like to know what the experience was like for you once it's all sunk in.
Do a recap.
Exactly.
Okay. I can't promise it'll be a triplets video, but maybe. It's a good idea.
One Patrick is enough.
Yeah. That's what everybody tells me.
All right. I appreciate you watching, and I really do hope that you not paid attention, but some of this sunk in because Patrick and I are, you may have noticed, not the youngest men you'll find, but we're still doing new things, and I hope you do too.
And just pushing ourselves a little bit beyond our comfort zone. And that's all I can say is do that.
A little bit beyond the comfort zone. All right, don't say anything mean about Dave because we are technically recording. I just want to make sure that the camera is charging.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times I would do a video and then realize that
Camera died partway through.
that camera perished. That was terrible.
Yeah.
I just lost 15 minutes and I couldn't tell you what I said.
Right. I've done that before. Or it'll shut off and I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to do that video again. And I'll either repeat myself in the video because I forgot that I said it already, or I forget something completely because I did say it already.
If I had to guess what I edit out most of the time, it's where I will begin speaking and then I need to change something and move something, and then I'll go, where did I end?
Yep.
So then I have to go back from
watch it.
So then when I'm editing, it's like I've got an 8-minute video and it's 25 minutes of footage, and 15 of it is me repeating the exact same words I just went through.
Exactly. Yep.
It's like, how do people edit professionally? I would be like, go to a soup kitchen. I can't work anymore. My job is too terrible.
Yep.